Karen's laugh was a hyena's cackle, slicing through the quiet of our cul-de-sac like a knife through butter. She stood on her porch, arms crossed over her polyester tracksuit, smugly declaring my smart home system a neighborhood eyesore because my porch light flickered once. Her name was Karen McAllister, the HOA president who ruled our sleepy suburban street like a dictator with a clipboard. At 300 pounds, with a perm that defied gravity and a sneer that could curdle milk, she was the kind of person who'd fine you for a blade of grass out of place. She'd been after me since I installed my smart home setup: cameras, lights, and a doorbell that could recite Shakespeare if I wanted. It was my pride and joy, a tech nerd's dream. But to Karen, it was a personal affront, a rebellion against her iron grip on our block's aesthetic. The conflict boiled down to this. Karen hacked my system to sabotage me, but I turned the tables, traced her digital fingerprints, and landed her in federal trouble. It started innocently enough. My smart lights began acting up, flashing at 3 a.m., dimming randomly, or blasting neon pink across the street. At first, I thought it was a glitch. I'm a cybersecurity analyst, so I dove into the logs. What I found wasn't a bug, it was a breach. Someone had accessed my system through a backdoor, tweaking settings to make my house look like a Vegas casino. The log showed an IP address, and it wasn't mine. I cross-referenced the IP with local network scans. It pinged straight to Karen's McMansion, 2 houses down. The audacity floored me. Karen, who couldn't tell a router from a toaster, had somehow hired a shady hacker to mess with my system. I pictured her smugly sipping Chardonnay while some sketchy guy in a hoodie typed away in her living room. The thought made my blood boil, but I stayed calm. Revenge, I decided, would be surgical. I set up a honeypot of fake server mimicking my smart home system. If Karen's hacker took the bait, I'd have proof. Sure enough, within 48 hours, the same IP hit my trap, trying to rewrite my thermostat settings to blast heat in July. I had them, but I needed more than logs to nail Karen. I needed her to incriminate herself. I knocked on her door, playing dumb. "Hey, Karen," I said, holding up my phone with a screenshot of the breach attempt. "My system's acting weird. You know anything about tech?" Her eyes narrowed, but she couldn't resist gloating. "Maybe if you didn't flaunt that tacky setup, it wouldn't malfunction," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "This neighborhood has standards, and you're not above them." Her smirk betrayed her she knew exactly what was happening. That night, I upped the ante. I coded a script to mirror her own tactics. I sent her smart sprinkler system into overdrive, flooding her pristine lawn. By morning, her yard was a swamp, and she was screaming at her landscaper on the phone. I watched from my window, sipping coffee, as she waddled out in a neon green muumuu, gesticulating wildly. Phase 1 of her karma was complete. But Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, escalating the hack. My doorbell started blaring "Happy Birthday" on loop at midnight, waking half the street. Neighbors texted me, furious, thinking I was the culprit. Karen, of course, played the victim, circulating a petition to ban disruptive technology in the HOA. She even had the gall to slip a fine under my door for noise violations. The woman was relentless, and I was done playing nice. I dug deeper into her digital trail. Her hacker wasn't as clever as he thought. He'd used a VPN, but a sloppy one, leaking metadata that tied back to a local coffee shop's Wi-Fi. I cross-checked timestamps and found Karen's credit card on a receipt there, timestamped minutes before the last breach. It wasn't airtight, but it was enough to loop in the authorities. Hacking a private system isn't just a prank, it's a federal crime under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I called a friend at the FBI's cybercrime unit, laying out my evidence: logs, IP traces, the honeypot data, and Karen's receipt. They took it seriously, especially since Karen's meddling had disrupted multiple neighbors' sleep and security systems. The feds moved fast, issuing a warrant to search her house. I didn't expect what came next. The raid happened at dawn. 2 black SUVs rolled into our cul-de-sac, lights flashing silently. Karen's door swung open, and there she was, in a bathrobe the size of a tent, shrieking as agents carted out her laptop and router. Neighbors gathered, whispering. I stood on my porch, arms crossed, watching her empire crumble. The kicker? Her hacker was a nephew she'd paid $200 to teach me a lesson. He sang like a canary, spilling everything about her vendetta. The aftermath was poetic. Karen faced federal charges for conspiracy and unauthorized access to a protected system. Her HOA crown was stripped, and the neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. At the trial, she tried to play the victim, claiming she was protecting property values. The judge wasn't buying it. She got 3 years probation, a hefty fine, and a ban from holding any HOA office. Her nephew got community service, and her lawn? Still a muddy mess. But the real victory wasn't just Karen's downfall. It was the neighborhood's awakening. We started questioning the HOA's petty rules, holding meetings to rewrite the bylaws. People who'd never spoken to me before stopped by to thank me, sharing their own Karen horror stories. One neighbor, Mrs. Chun, admitted she'd been too scared to plant roses because Karen deemed them too red. We laughed, and I helped her install a smart irrigation system for her new garden. Karen moved away 6 months later. Her house sold to a young couple who painted it bright blue, just to spite her legacy. I never gloated, at least, not openly. But every time my porch light glows a soft, steady white, I smile. My system is secure, my neighbors are free, and Karen's reign is a cautionary tale. Power, when wielded by someone like her, is a fragile thing. It only takes one person to fight back, one line of code to unravel a tyrant.